Hello, everyone. My name is Katy Campbell, and I am a professor in the Department of Women's and Gender Studies and also the director of the graduate program there, in case you want to keep that in your back of your mind. This is the introductory video to WGS 101, Representations of Girls and Women, which we are going to work on together over the next 6 weeks, which is, I know, a very, really compressed time. And so we're going to have to be really efficient and effective with our time. This may be your first course at the university. It may be your first course in this department. I know that having looked at the roster, there are people from a lot of different departments, and I think that'll be really interesting. It's pretty challenging to take your first course in Women's and Gender Studies. There are a lot of things to talk about, a lot of language to get your head around, a lot of different kinds of ways of thinking about knowledge and how knowledge is produced and who gets to produce it and who gets to use it. But we're going to talk about core ideas throughout the course that are the contemporary core ideas of feminism that will hold you in good stead for the rest of your programming. This is an online course, entirely asynchronous. That means that we will never, as a class, meet at the same time with video. And so we're going to get to know each other through the forums, through your introductions of yourselves, through these videos that we post at the beginning of every module, and in other kinds of activities that we suggest through the course. But there will never be a class time to meet. You're working at your own pace. I know how challenging that can be as well. There are lots of tips about learning online, and you'll find them in the course e-class, which I'm going to introduce to you in the Getting Started on the Course interview. You may not agree with all the ideas in this course, and that's fine. This is a great place to look at another point of view, hear another point of view, and discuss it and try to come to some common ground. Whether or not you go away being a feminist or not, that's up to you, and there's room for all of those kinds of things. We have one teaching assistant in this course. Her name is Stephanie Kiame. She's my graduate student, and she will post her own video introducing herself to you. We are not going to have set physical office hours, either of us, but we have provided our email addresses in the course materials and encourage you to make an appointment if you would like to talk about anything really or have questions about the course. So there are 50 of you in this course, and that means that I can't provide each one of you an hour's worth of discussion every week, as I'm sure you can appreciate. But I will do my very, very best to answer any questions by email within 48 hours. Or definitely we will schedule some time if you want to meet face-to-face, so to speak, during the week. Just a note that I don't look at my email on weekends, and generally I'm not going to schedule any kinds of meetings during weekends as well. Weekends are my time to do grading that I need to do, to catch up on the content in the course, to plan my other courses, to do some writing, to hang out with my grandchildren if they happen to be here, and just be with my family of dogs, cats, and husband here at the lake. The way this course is set up, there are 12 modules in the course and a final exam. And there are various challenges and one very, very short paper. The majority of what you're going to learn from each other is going to happen in the class discussion. So I really urge you to go as soon as you can to the class discussion page on eClass, and you will be able there to introduce yourselves to each other's, and there's some questions that may start you off to help you do that. So just a little bit about me and some values that I hold near and dear to my heart. First of all, my background actually is in instructional design, in adult learning. distance education, and also looking at women in higher education leadership, particularly in sort of the fringes, faculties like the Faculty of Extension that I was the dean of for 12 years, departments like Women's and Gender Studies, which tend to exist on the margins, and sometimes that's a really strong place to be, and sometimes it can be challenging. So I'm really I'm a pedagogue, let me put it that way. I really know a lot about online learning. That is my area. And I believe in education. I believe in formal education, but also non-formal education or informal education. So I believe that you are going to learn as much from your peers as you are going to learn from the content and from me or Stephanie. And I, in turn, am going to learn a lot from you. And I really, really look forward to that. And it's one of the reasons that I love teaching is because I learned so much. Just different points of view and different histories and backgrounds and experiences. And you bring a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge already to this course. And we're gonna tease some of that out. I really like to have an engaging experience with everybody, so I really, there is a participation grade, but that's not the only reason to participate. The more you engage with the content, the more you engage with each other and with us, the more you're going to get out of the course. That's a promise. I also believe in a feminist classroom, which is a democratic classroom. And so everything's on the table to discuss. Power is going to come up a lot, conceptually speaking, theoretically speaking. And so I'm very, very conscious of power and how power is distributed in a university, and certainly how power is distributed in a university undergraduate class. I recognize that in this kind of context, I do have institutional power and authority, but I hope to use it, I guess, for good. I'm not a hierarchical person. I'm not an authoritarian person. And so we're all here to learn. We're all equal learners. Our subjective experiences are the experiences that are really, really important in women's and gender studies. And so a lot of the evidence that you're going to provide in your writing and in your discussions on the forum are going to be from your own experiences and what you've learned from your own experiences. We're going to work on identity issues, for example, and how identities are affected by cultural issues, issues of power, and so on, but also how identities are transformed through challenges and difficulties. So while we may experience some conflict in the class, I hope, and I'm going to be trying to shape things this way, that it's creative conflict, conflict that we learn from and that doesn't hurt anybody. So having said that, if this is your first experience in an online discussion forum, there are general protocols and ways to behave with each other that are desired ways and acceptable ways and ways that aren't. So I'm sure I don't need to harangue anybody about that, but we expect all of us to be respectful to one another, respectful to one's positions and experiences, able to disagree respectfully, no name calling, for example. If you disagree with someone's stance or opinion, then we expect you to provide evidence for your disagreement. It's not good enough to just say, I disagree, or, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're full of it. Those aren't acceptable responses. And we'll work on what is acceptable in a scholarly environment in terms of online discussion. Some things about me that may help you understand me a little bit better. I've been in the biz a long time. And like I said, I started off as a French teacher, to tell you the truth, in elementary and secondary school. And I came back for graduate studies at the University of Alberta to learn to be a better French teacher. And I quickly found out that that's not what graduate studies were. They weren't to learn to become a better French teacher, but graduate studies was about ideas and concepts and stretching. And because I just loved to develop curriculum and so on, I sort of fell into the role of instructional designer. I had no idea what that was, but my boss at the time said, "You're an instructional designer, and here are the things you'll do." And so I read as much as I could in between instructional design assignments, and soon realized that what the canon um, was it came out of just an American invention. It came out of conflicts like the Civil War in the United States, and a desire to find ways to train large numbers of soldiers really quickly on weapons, for example, or on tactics or wartime strategies, while reducing the room for error. And that was so antithetical an approach to me as a feminist, although I probably wouldn't have called myself that. Well, I might have in the 80s. Just dropped my bottle of water. And so I began to look at different ways of knowing about instructional design. It really came to just really reject the idea that it was a cognitive science or that it was a behavioral science, and instead began to see it as a relational process of social agency. So you can tell by that I believe that learning is for social action. That's why we learn, so that we can take action and that we can improve whatever it is that we're looking to improve. So from there, I ended up staying at the university and embarking on this professional career of instructional design. And then I did a PhD where I use narrative inquiry as a method. And so I'm very, very keen on life writing and personal writing, and hopefully we'll be able to do some of that in this course. Started my academic career in the State University of New York system in upstate New York, and where I had a really miserable time. Then I went to the PA in Manitoba as a distance education coordinator. Really had my eyes open there in terms of Indigenous ways of knowing, just even thinking completely differently than I'd brought up or had the experience in doing about Indigenous communities in Canada. Came back to the University of Alberta, first of all, on a contract, and then as a director and a faculty member, and an associate dean, and all kinds of things. Ended up being a dean in the Faculty of Extension for 12 years, where we developed a scholarly domain called engagement scholarship, which is studying how to work with communities in reciprocal and mutually beneficial ways. So really sort of challenging those power dynamics between universities and communities. And retired from that, I guess, aged out, you might say, out of that dean's position, and then came to the Department of Women's and Gender Studies as a professor, where I've been for the past couple of years. So my politics are probably going to be pretty obvious as we work through the course. There's rooms there, of course. Feminist studies, gender studies are political studies. Their very essence, the personal, is political. Which certainly is a canon that I believe in and hold near and dear to my heart. I'm an animal lover. We have 2 rescue dogs and 2 rescue cats. I'm a non-meat eater, and for moral reasons, but also increasingly for environmental reasons. I have 3 grandchildren, 1 boy and 2 girls that are being raised by my daughter on a farm in Saskatchewan, who are becoming fierce activists themselves, doing appropriate things at their age. And I live at a lake, at Pigeon Lake at Mamio Beach, where my family has been for over 100 years now. And currently, while I live here, and it's my spirit spot, I'm still struggling with the idea that I'm living on indigenous land that was stolen um, from local indigenous communities, and I'm wondering how to reconcile that in my life. So, enough about me and enough about the course for now. Please go and take a look at eClass and take a look at where you can talk about yourself a little bit. We're all really interested to meet you. Post a picture if you feel comfortable with doing that. Remember to only disclose what you feel safe in disclosing. We'll never ask you to disclose anything different. And just to end, again, I want to acknowledge that it's really it's a really full course. You know, I mean, it takes the full 39 hours and then some if it's taught in the fall and winter, and we only have 6 weeks. So it's pretty intense. You're going to be working on a new module every couple of days. You know, assignments are going to have to be done quickly and submitted quickly. And we'll end up in the middle of June, hopefully, all changing for the better by having known each other. So thank you for your attention and looking forward to working with you.